All right, it's all on the record now.
Okay, well, I don't know if Jim's is here, but we're all thrilled to hear that he won the Technical Service Award. And I'm going to read it, the official text here. Named James W. Brown, K9YC of Santa Cruz, California, as the recipient of the 2020 ARRL Technical Service Award. The board cited Brown's frequent contributions to and presentations at amateur radio forums at conventions including Dayton, Pacificon, and the International DX and Contesting Convention in Visalia. His collaborations with the ARRL Lab, his work on various ARRL publications, including the ARRL Handbook, the Antenna Book, and others, and his sharing of his technical and educational expertise in the fields of audio engineering, RFI, and other aspects of electronics and engineering with the amateur radio community at large, particularly in terms of the informational website he maintains, which is available at no charge. That's quite a sentence. The board said, Brown continues to provide his expertise as a means of giving back to the amateur community in the spirit of the amateurs that worked with him when he was first licensed at the age of 13. So congratulations to Jim. And we're very proud to have him in the club and to earn that award. Next.
Good.
Okay, we got two new members. So the first, David West, KN6IOB. Let's see. Okay. So David lives in Brentwood, right around the corner from Chris and N6RO. He's a general licensee. He has been licensed a half a year, and he was nominated by Ken Keeler, Chris Tate, and David Jaffe. And he says, I quote, "My station is still up and coming. I am working with members now to outfit a test station as I work to produce the first of my own gear for the first of my own gear for HF contesting. Currently, I only have a VHF/UHF radio that I use in both my vehicle and QTH. When mobile, it uses the mag mount. When at home, it uses an attic-mounted homemade vertical dipole." And he's CW 0%, phone 100%, RTTY 0%, although I have a feeling that's going to be more than 0% pretty soon. And he says, contest experience. I've entered 2 contests. The first was the June VHF contest. I had no idea what I was doing. Then I participated with N6RO in the Hawaii QSO Party, and that's where I realized how fun contesting can be. So, and thanks to Ken for recruiting him and increasing our ranks here. So in other comments, he says, so very new to this hobby. I know this is all just the slightest tip of the iceberg, and I wish I had jumped into it much earlier. I plan on starting to learn CW very soon and to start studying for my extra in the month. I would like to have the extra by Thanksgiving. So that's great. And the other person is, we're gonna vote on them together because it's simpler over the Zoom. Second person is Lyle Meek, W6WF. He's an extra class licensee. He's been licensed since 1961. He's had a variety of other call signs, including the first one was WN6LDE. So I guess he's a native. Then there was WB7SRY, WA6CDB, N6BLN, and now and WW6F. Now he's W6WF. He's nominated by Rusty, W60AT, and by K6RIM, and by N6WEU. His station consists of a 7600 ICOM and a 7300, a KIO hex beam, a high gain 18HT vertical, a Collins 30L1, a Yaesu FL2100Z, and an Ameritron 811. He's 40% CW, 50% phone, and 10% FT8. And his contest experience includes CQP Monterey County first place several times and field day. His favorite contest is CQP. Other comments he says, I need to get more serious about contesting. I dabble a lot in many contests. Well, that's great. So now the part comes when, I don't know if Lyle's on, but the two, David and Lyle, put your fingers in your ears and close your eyes for 5 seconds while we take a vote here. So anyone not support these two guys coming on as members? Somebody grunted. I assume that was just a grunt.
The rooster doesn't like them.
All right. I forgot my gong, but gong. You can remove your fingers from your ears if they haven't. If they're still in there, you won't know that I said that. But congratulations to Dave and Lyle. You're now members of NCCC.
Hey, congratulations.
Welcome.
Bravo.
Woo!
Woo! Moving on.
All right. Okay, so I wanted to just briefly talk about some of our upcoming plans for this contest season. So first of all, welcome to the 2020 contest season. Unfortunately, there's not going to be a lot of travel this year, but as we've already kind of figured out, but I'm excited because I've been kind of waiting for some contests to, get back on the air again. I mean, there's plenty of stuff during the summer, but it's never enough for me. So this weekend, Worldwide Ready, not necessarily a club focus, but I'm going to make a big showing, and I know the RO crew is, and
Hold on a second.
definitely. What's that?
I just had to mute it. I'm in the NCCC meeting.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I didn't mute you. In any case, we have a couple of big club efforts coming up. So here's the way I kind of look at this. If you were going to pick a couple of contests to do a year, if you're not like Dave and I, and you don't end up in a lot of them, or some of us, we if I had to ask a favor, I'd say try to show up in at least these, and that would be at least from the club perspective. We're going to try to focus an effort here on all of these if it's possible. So first of all, coming up very quickly here is the California QSO Party. More on that in a second. We have Glenn here, but we're kind of really hoping to make a big NCCC showing. So NCCC doesn't directly compete in the California QSO Party, as you may know, because we kind of sponsor it and we want it to be sort of impartial. But in terms of getting on the air, I know a lot of you have already made plans. Thank you very much. I hope to work every last one of you in a couple weeks from now. That would be wonderful. And now for a slightly different change. This is our 50th anniversary of NCCC. We have a couple of meetings planned to specifically celebrate that. Now, NCCC was actually founded as a club that went after sweepstakes, as I understand it. I, of course, wasn't around back then, but from what I've been able to sort of piece together, that's sort of one of the things that, is sort of the founding principles of NCCC. So what we're looking to do is have as many people participate in sweepstakes as possible. Now, as a club, we will put an entry in. However, this is a little bit of a complicated situation because it turns out that many of the smaller clubs that have a lot of membership overlap with NCCC also participate in sweepstakes. It also turns out that as a club, we don't really have as many logs as we need to really be competitive in the unlimited category. So a couple of these clubs, like Motherlode, for example, has won the medium version of the gavel for several years in a row. So essentially what they would be doing is they'd be walking away from a win and going into a loss if we tried to go for the unlimited with as many logs as we're going to be able to turn out. So having said that, we're still going to try to pump this up from an NCCC perspective. We're going to actually have similar to what we did with WPX earlier in the year, where we gave out awards for participation in this. We're going to do exactly that same thing this year, except you can submit the log for another club, and that's totally okay. Having said that, you do have to be an NCCC member, an active one, dues paying, to be eligible for any of those awards. So if you're not, or if you know somebody who's going to make a big score and they're not, please join, make sure that you're current with your membership, because the goal here is to maybe do a little recruiting out of this as well. That's sort of the other plan here. Make sure that we get some more people active, make sure that we do that. Two very fun contests, both in November, both CW and sideband. Okay, hold on, let me just keep muting people. Finally, we've won for the last several years the ARRL Ready Roundup. This year we'd like to win it again, the Unlimited Club Gavel. There's no sense in, since we have this dynasty, there's no sense in losing it. So I would love to see everybody just sort of plan to be on the air. It's the day after New Year's. There's not going to be a lot going on, so it's going to be a long weekend anyway. Go ahead and put in a big score for NCCC. We're going to do a similar thing for this, where we'll have internal club awards. Regardless of what the your actual result is a good chance to put some lumber on your wall. It turns out that you will need to submit the log for NCCC for this particular one in order for it to qualify for the award. So very, very important that you do that. And then we'll have a couple other announcements of what we're doing in 2021, but that is the contest update. Any questions, concerns, comments?
I just want to say that I received the gavel in the mail recently, and I was going to show it, but I left it inside. I'll run out and get it and show it at the end of the meeting. Okay, so maybe you can turn it over to Glenn now. Glenn's going to give us an update on CQP. And Gary is going to do the slides. So.
Okay. Oh, you guys have slides? Okay. Give me just a second to stop sharing.
Gary's going to drive. Here's my audio. Does everybody hear that?
Sounds great.
Okay. So go ahead, Gary. Next slide. He's going to flip them for me. This is kind of a last minute update on how we stand for on CQP and what's activated and kind of what our recommendations are, and if anybody needs arm twisting, why consider this, consider your arm twisted.
Bill has to enable screen
share. I fixed you. Try again.
Okay. Oops.
Here you go.
Okay, go ahead to the next one. So I'm going to fly through these, just maybe take 5 minutes, because most of this stuff everybody already knows. But just to kind of tell you where we are. So in terms of county tracking.
Is there a way to get the full screen up?
Yeah, hit swap displays, Gary, if you at the top there on the left.
Swap. Oh.
Yeah, here you go. Much better.
Okay, that looks good. So anyway, where we stand with activating the 58, is that even possible? Ways to participate, some recommendations for folks on our end. Kind of what we expect to see on the weekend. And by the way, the audio is falling out for me, so sorry if this gets choppy for everybody. I think my grandson is on a parallel Zoom meeting, then that's not good with really crap internet here. Old news, new awards, and maybe a pitch for some last minute plannings and some Road Warrior stuff. Go ahead, next.
Hey Glenn, it sounds fine, except the level's a little low, so maybe
Gary?
Speak up a little or get closer to the mic.
Okay. Given everything that's happening, even with just the COVID, let alone now with the fires closing most of the national forests and other places, we thought it was going to be extremely tough to activate all 58. I frankly had kind of given up, but Dean never gives up. And the last that we're kind of worried about are Plumas, King, Siskiyou, Madera, and Mendocino. But we think this changes every day.
We lose audio? Are we okay?
Yeah.
You know, hey, Glenn, can you hear us?
He froze completely.
Maybe turn your video off if you're, if you can hear this.
Yeah, we totally lost him.
Well, let's give him a minute. I'm going to run in and get the gavel. We'll have a
Send
brief
him a
intermission.
private, send him a private message. Send him a private message.
Yeah, I have.
That'll do it, Bill.
Thanks, Rick.
Rick alias Ted.
Okay, am I connected again?
Yep, you're back. Why don't we stop your video so that you don't use bandwidth on it?
Okay, that's an idea. I don't need to see myself anyway. Oh, start video.
Yeah, you're good to go. You're good to go.
Okay, there it is. Okay, let's see how this goes. Okay, so next slide, Gary. Did you get the part where I said that 58 counties might just be possible, surprisingly enough?
That's where you cut off.
Okay, very good. So, you know, it used to be, and certainly my feeling was that expeditions were the key to CQP and a big part of the attraction of it. And this year, we early on kind of understood that expeditions were going to be very, very difficult. And now with fires, it's 10 times as difficult. So we have cancellations almost every day, and then some other people step up, and you know, we're kind of in the fight to get them activated. But what this means really is that serious operating from home stations is very important this year. It's all about activity, and you know, here's Dean's list for the way you can do it. Just kind of normal own home station, but if you can share a better station through remote operation, we hope that some will do that. And also if you can manage to social distance while physically sharing a station, why that'd be okay with some care. Go ahead, next. Let's see, do watch the email list for a CQP practice session. That'll be announced. It'll probably be the Friday before. And do be aware of the new rally times and frequencies. This has been updated. It's on the website. But there it is again. So this is kind of, you know, when 80 meters gets tough, this gives a reason to go and pick up a few cues on 80 if we can create some activity there. Next. Dean has done a terrific job really trying to stir up a bunch of activity, sent out over 1,000 emails and done a bunch of club outreach, and John Miller's helped with that as well. It's nice that ARRL has the State QSO Party Challenge going, so that'll boost participation. We've also added a couple new awards, so it's not just about sweeps anymore. 2 new plaques and the Sequoia Challenge. So for a variety of reasons, we think that we're going to have a very high activity weekend, and NCCC needs to hold up their end of that. If we get everybody to show up, we need to show up as well. So that's very important. We're expecting strong activity on CW, but we might see a higher share on sideband due to casual stations. Everybody has to stand at home, and so you get more casual stations. Maybe we're kind of thinking that, and we think it's a good possibility with all this activity that some county, state, and province records could be broken this year. Next. So no rule changes for 2020. There was really no reason to fool with it. and we do have the new awards. In addition to the Sequoia Challenge, we have a top comeback, singer operator comeback plaque. That comes from kind of the statistic that is kind of alarming, was that a lot of the logs we saw in 2018 didn't participate in 2019. And so that was kind of alarming to us that we didn't have more loyal participants. So we have a comeback plaque. We have a most improved plaque as well. Next. And of course, all this, the point is to increase participation on both sides, California and the rest. Sequoia Challenge, you see we have 21 special 1x1 call signs out there, and a lot of ways to, a lot of combinations to get the basic award. And then just to encourage people, but you can't just, you know, work the 7, you have to make 100 QSOs. So we wanted to make that more meaningful to encourage higher participation. And then there's higher level awards and a leaderboard as well to keep people in the chair. Next. And just a final pitch. This is really, really late, but we have a lot of counties that are really kind of underactivated. So it's not really quite too late to plan a trip to a rare county. And it doesn't take a big high power multi-antenna setup to participate. You know, we typically just have one serious mobile operation, and someone could do quite well, especially in some of these rare counties doing mobile. We also created last year the multi-county expedition category, which is kind of also what we call slow mobile. So don't just drive through a county, but stop and work 100 Qs minimum, and then move on. And a lot of creativity possible there, where you can stop, set up a proper antenna real quickly, and especially if you're on the top of a hill in a quiet location, you can do really, really well, especially from a rare county. And also just kind of getting out there, minimalist. Even heck, if all you got's 100 watts and a ham stick, I would say do it. You'll probably do quite well from some of these locations. So anybody interested in that as a last minute and needs some help in terms of planning for locations or special equipment or something like that, contact me or Dean, and we can help you out with that. That's all I got, Gary.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. Okay, before we go on, I just want to show you this thing. Let's see if I can do this. Can you read that? Is it upside down? I can't.
It's upside down.
It's upside down. All right, this way. Yeah, there we go. Here, I'll scroll it like a news channel. There we
Why don't
go.
you read it to us?
Back a little bit.
Oh, good idea. Northern California Contest Club 2019 ARRL RIDI Roundup Unlimited category. I'll now hit my Northern California Contest Club mouse pad with it. There. Now, before I turn it over to Chris, I wanted to say that I mentioned in the email that there's a nice certificate for a discount on a FlexRadio. Now, not everybody is in the market for one. So if you're interested, send me a private chat and I'll add you to the list. And at the end, we'll do the raffle. But he also has a number of hats and shirts. And my attitude is you can never have enough hats and shirts. So I just put everybody in for this raffle. So if you're on this call, you're in the raffle for hats and shirts. But if you want to be in the raffle for the radio coupon, which is $200 off of $6,600, $100 off of $6,400, or $300 off of $6,700, then send me a private chat, in the Zoom chat. And now we're going to turn it over to Chris, who's going to tell us everything about FlexRadio remoting, contesting, and other deep dive interesting info.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me get this. Is going to depend on what we're trying to do.
You know, I've been around the world. I worked in the oil fields for 36
Well, it sounds like I'm on an astronaut or something. Yeah. Okay. So if we want to just make a few QSOs, like I said, we can do a simple setup. If we're going to try and be competitive, we need a few more tools, and we're going to cover it. So SmartLink, what is SmartLink? SmartLink is something that was introduced by Flex in their version 2 of their software. And a lot of people were a little concerned about it because it requires something other than you just connecting directly to your radio. It's actually a broker system. And what SmartLink does is it brokers the connection between your remote and your radio. And if that connection is done via that broker system, it enables a number of compression algorithms to make them very, very bandwidth efficient. So what that means is that, you know, once your server, like I showed you how we registered that server with SmartLink, once it's there, you can connect with any one of those clients that I showed you earlier. And it should show up in a chooser just like this, and all you have to do is select it and connect. Like I said, it's a one-time setup and activation. It actually uses universal plug and play, so when you do that setup, most of the time it will configure your router automatically for you if your router is UPnP enabled, which a lot of contemporary routers are. You can log in from various clients, all those different ones that I showed you, and compression makes bandwidth usage super, super efficient. But it does add some latency. And that latency is what basically separates a routine and kind of a more relaxed remote to a competitive level remote. And we'll cover that here shortly. Interfacing with your rig. So I mentioned earlier the Smart Cat, which is a virtual cat application that allows you to spin up COM ports and various interfaces automatically on your PC that you're running your logger on. And Smart DAX, which is a digital audio exchange, which basically allows you to spin up virtual audio ports to use for things like REDI and stuff like that. And both of these log into the SmartLink system. So once you've got that server registered, you can log these things into SmartLink, and sure enough, they will establish the connection to the radio to make these different features work. If you could see both on the left and the right, on the top right below the Smart SDR label, these are both logged into the SmartLink server, and you could see my home station there, which is local. But you could also see the N6RO station there, which is SmartLink, and I can connect up to that and control it. So let's talk a little bit about SmartCat. It's basically a virtual comm application that has a lot of extra stuff added to it. Over time, they've added a lot of different features to it. You could see here, circled in red, this is interfaced with a Flex 6600, so it's got two receivers, and I've set this up as an SO2R environment. So you could see that I've got my COM4 and my COM5, each assigned to a different slice or receiver, and you could see my OTRSP port, which enables you know, the Open2 radio switching protocol, allows me to switch back and forth between the receivers. They offer a virtual WinKey emulator. So again, very useful if you're on a laptop and you're trying to remote your computer at home, and you don't want to lug around, you know, the stuff to key stuff, you can actually spin this up, and it does work. It doesn't have a complete WinKeyer command set, but it does work. The PTT port can actually be mated with an RS-232 port or a COM port on your computer, and you can actually hook it up and have a foot switch and actually have foot switch control if you want it on your remote. They also have a UDP port receiver, which will take spots like out of the spots page of N1WM, and you could project them onto your PAN adapter. So that's kind of useful. And this is what it looks like on the logger. So that's the same picture there on the left, and you could see how we've set all of this up on the logger on the right. And this is a working scenario that I took a screenshot on the right, so it does work. And you can see that we've got an SO2R setup. COM4 corresponds to the CAT COM4, COM5 to the CAT COM5. Likewise, all of the right ports, right?
Chris, where's COM12?
COM12 mates with, so on the left, you can see that that's a PTT port, Bob. And so what that does is it mates up with COM12, a physical COM12 on the system, right? And then on that, which happens to be an RS-232 port, and you can use an edge port or whatever, you can actually wire up an RS-232 interface to a foot switch and use that to pull down when you step on it and use it for a foot switch PTT.
That's remote, not local.
Yes, that's correct.
I was looking for PTT in the N1WM setup. Are you using software PTT only?
PTT by a radio command for
yeah, it's cat based.
Yeah, it's just like yeah, it's just using the cat ports.
Just wondering if it had a hardware based PTT input besides the foot switch thing.
On the system, yeah, on the transceiver itself, but that doesn't work very good with remote.
Well, no, Bob, you can use the that PTT way in that form if you really want to, but the software works equally as well, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay.
Okay. DAX gives us remote audio cables, so we're basically, you know, replacing physical cables with virtual audio cables. Again, you could see that I'm connected to N6RO station 6 over SmartLink, and I'm getting audio from slice A and slice B, and their corresponding slices on Smart SDR. So you can see how that kind of works. And this is how
much,
they
buffering is in those. You're not using the virtual audio cable program, right? But there's still got to be some buffering and some audio delay.
There's a little bit of delay, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. You know, it's you know, there are a number of factors that cause delay, and those are some of the problems that we have to resolve in a competitive environment. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I did want to show what these look like if you were, for instance, setting up for a RIDI contest and you had a laptop on your remote side. And here you could see the DAX Audio RX1 in MMTTY and the DAX Audio TX, which would handle the audio for a RIDI setup. And you can also use it to do SSB audio. And you could see that setup screen there as well. So these actually allow, and this is, like I said, a real screenshot of it's a little blurry, but you could see that I've got an SO2R RIDI set up here, visible. So it does work and works pretty well for most instances.
How are you generating PTT from MMTTY?
And when MM does it through the CAT interface?
Yeah, it's PTT via radio command. So it triggers the PTT.
So you do not let MMTTY control the PTT like it's used.
That's right. Yeah,
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it also works with two-tone and a bunch of other stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, and actually, if you look at that picture, there's a couple of instances of two-tone showing there too on the same audio channels. Okay, moving on. A quick slide about mic and headset options, particularly when you're remote. On the left, you could see that one, I wanted to highlight that you can use PC audio on the PC that you've got Smart SDR on to both listen and to transmit audio to the radio server. If you look down on the lower slide on the left, that's a small USB sound card with my Radio Sport headset hooked up to it, and that can plug into your computer and work to handle SSB audio. And it works pretty darn well. The slide on the right is the same headset, not plugged into a sound card, but actually plugged into the back of a Maestro unit. So, you know, when you have a Maestro unit, you actually can plug in various things into it: a headset, a CW key, and other accessories. So that works as well. So you need to be able to have a headset. You need to be able to hear what's going on, and so I wanted to include that slide so you guys could see some of the options that were available. So now we'll cycle through a few Flex Remote scenarios, and like I said, they can go from very, very simple to very, very complex. There's lots and lots of different options. You know, you can mix and match a lot of this stuff to make it work for you. And as you see, as we progress through the different levels, you could see that you'll be able to mix different desires of how you want to operate and make it all work for you. So the most basic setup would be to have a computer, and you know, let's say you're traveling or something like that, and you want to get on board, got to get on a contest. You would run Smart SDR, your CAT and your DAX right there on your computer, and you'd run N6WM on that computer. It's very, very easy. And you know, and you could optionally, obviously, you can VNC or use some kind of RDP to get into your station and control various things. I'll show you what that looks like for real. So here is a laptop, and this is a little bit of an old slide, but this is a laptop and an external USB monitor. But this is a complete setup running right on my laptop. You can see that I've used the external USB monitor to put up an N6WM instance for an SO2R setup. You can see both the slices on the right on the main monitor there. And this was fully operational. I actually made some QSOs in a contest with that very setup. So one of the things that I wanted to, and I haven't written it down in the slides, but one of the things that I wanted to emphasize is one of the bigger challenges that we figured out when you're using these tools is you need lots of screen space. And these little USB monitors are really, really useful. They're not very expensive. Again, maybe $100, $150. They plug right into the laptop USB 3 and give enough video with adequate, you know, performance to do things like put your logger on there. And so, you know, this whole thing flops down and goes into my laptop bag, and off I go. And if I'm lucky, I didn't get busted by N6NU, who was wanting me to be building computer clusters instead of contesting. So that's a very simple setup. Let's keep going. So things get a little bit more interesting as you want to add some of these other peripherals. So you can log more than one device into your server at the same time. And in this particular scenario, what we're doing is we're running the CAT and DAX application on the computer. We've got N6WM interfaced via the CAT and DAX through SmartLink. And up above, on the top there, what I'm using for a PAN adapter is my Smart SDR for iOS on my iPad. Now that you know, that, and it works just fine. you can control, you move things around, and it works really, really well. And it also saves screen real estate, because screen real estate is at a premium, like I mentioned. You can also have a more comprehensive solution. Oh, by the way, and the iPad, you may already have that. So if you pay $50 for the Smart SDR for iOS, you got, for $50, you got a PAN adapter. So that's kind of a cool deal. Down below, you can use a Maestro, and again, doing the same thing with N1MM, with Cat and DAX on a computer. You can use the Maestro to do your buttons and knobs, and like I said, you could plug headset into it. You can you could do a lot more with that, but it is kind of expensive, and not everybody has one. So you know, and again, you could also, you know, if you had a Mac, you could use the Mac client and your Windows client set up like this. So let's take a look and see what that looks like in real life. There is a SO2R setup on my Lenovo ThinkPad, and to the right there I have my Maestro set up with two slices on I think on 15 and 20 meters, and an SO2R setup on the laptop, and everything's logged in via SmartLink, and I'm able to contest like that, you know, functionally. And you could see that I've got everything interfaced in the picture below. I wanted to zoom in a little bit so you could see that, oh yeah, it's 10 and 15 meters at N6RO. So that's another option. So that's sort of I'm using my N1MM on my laptop and interfacing everything via SmartLink. So let's look at another scenario. If we choose to use a remote desktop, there's a couple of different ways to do that. One is to run Smart SDR locally on the computer and have N1MM and all of the cat control and stuff like that at the station. So that way you've got a big PAN adapter locally, but you're remoting into everything else. You've got the N1MM on the local LAN, you've got the cat and the DAX on the local LAN, but you've got your PAN adapter right there in front of you on your laptop. Another option is similar to the option in the slide previous, but we're just remoting everything. So we've got the same thing. We've got the N1MM, cat and DAX at the computer at the station, but I'm using the Maestro for my PAN adapter locally and for tactile control. So we'll take a look at what that looks like in real life. So the computer on the left is the window on the bottom of the laptop is my remote into N6RO. Above it is a local SmartLink connected version of a Smart SDR with two slices open. And to the right of that is the same setup with the full screen. I'm getting a little bit more screen real estate so I can control more of my desktop at N6RO because I'm using the Maestro for my PAN adapter. So lots of different solutions, and really, if you think about it, there's, you know, you can do any number of these things and make them work, because all of these devices can individually be interfaced with the server at the station. So we're going to do a quick checkpoint here. We're using SmartLink to get basically a low latency PAN adapter experience, and the audio experience, like I said, does have latency, but what I'm talking about here is internet latency. So we're not using up a lot of internet bandwidth to get SmartLink going. We know that the cat and DAX applications can connect over SmartLink and can be remoted and very easily connected to the system. We can set up remote with just a computer, or we can have a bunch of different connections, like you know, the iPad, the Maestro, and you know, to complement it. And then we can have a local PAN adapter and logger and the logger being at the station. So we can have the PAN adapter right there on our computer connected via SmartLink, and we could be remote desktoping our logger and all of our fancy tools back at our station. But to do this at the competitive level, we've got some problems, and they need to be solved before you can do that. So like I mentioned, SmartLink, although internet bandwidth efficient, adds a significant amount of audio latency. Those numbers are 300 to 400 higher, 300 to 400% higher latency than if you were making a direct connection to the radio on a LAN. And I have measured those and I confirm them. So that's kind of a problem, right? With that kind of latency, we can do all the things that I showed you before, but to be able to go out and make thousands of QSOs and rapid fire QSOs in a contest, it's going to be very, very difficult because you're going to have issues with that latency. There are other problems. FlexSmartLink, although it's really, provides a lot of very, very cool features, they haven't been able to solve the problem of remote side tone and monitors. So if you were sending CW via your logger, you will not hear your side tone. And, that makes it very difficult. I personally am not comfortable not knowing what I'm sending. So those are both very real problems that need to be solved. And in a competitive level, where you're going to make thousands of QSOs and try and win a contest, we can't have either of those things. So before we did SmartLink, we used to VPN in, and VPN in would drop the latency back to reasonable levels. It wouldn't solve this, it's not going to solve the side tone problem, but it would solve the audio latency problem. But we have an issue with that. We now, because if we were using a VPN to connect into the shack, we're now using a larger bandwidth version, a larger bandwidth stream from the server. And so that's going to interfere with our, with our internet connection and may make it very difficult for us to remote our system because we're pumping so much data out, out over the wire. And like I said, we're still not able to hear the side tone of monitors. So VPNs can be useful for various different things like station control things and kind of broadcast type applications that you might want to have locally on your laptop, but it's not going to solve our problem. So can any of you figure out how we solve these problems? Any ideas? Remember the beginning of the presentation? We still use them. The only way that I've been able to solve some of these problems that I find unacceptable for doing competitive level contesting is to use a remote rig pair. So we use both items together. Because the SmartLink is so bandwidth efficient, we use their SmartLink for basically projection of the pan adapter and for control of the radio. But for our audio and for other things that that you might want, like maybe an easier foot switch and stuff like all the features that remote rig provides, we use them together to produce an experience that is both bandwidth efficient and with enough reduced audio latency to make competitive contesting possible through the Flex 6000. I've gone through a lot of trial and error with this, and there are other solutions, and there are innovative solutions that some people pump their audio through a computer, stuff like that. But I like the remote rig because it's proven, it's adjustable, it's very, very bandwidth efficient, and it's basically, basically works 100% out of the box. And
Chris,
go ahead.
What are you using through remote rig other than CW sending?
I'll show you another slide here in just a moment, and it will explain. The next slide will explain. But the same stuff you would use with a K3. I'll show you. So in this particular scenario, like I said, we're using both the remote rig, but we're using the SmartLink system for the pan adapter, which is inevitably what I was after when I actually started looking at Flex. I wanted a pan adapter on my remote. And the logger's on a PC at the remote site, and I leverage remote desktop. It also gives us full station experience. You know, we got everything. We got all, you know, our W2FU, our, you know, Green Heron Anywhere, all that stuff, all of Gary's cool tools to switch things and stuff like that are all available at the station. So we're using it all together. So let me show you the next slide, Rick, and this will explain. So here we go. The computer is logged into SmartLink. In this particular case, I have two additional monitors as an example, because I wanted to emphasize how important screen real estate is when you start going to Windows-based pan adapters. So you really don't want to skimp on screen real estate. But here we are connecting over the internet, and we're remote desktoping into a server. You could see I got a picture of Green Heron rotor controllers there. The CAT, DAX, and N1MM are on the computer at the station. And they're interfaced to the FlexRadio that's at the station, in this case showing a couple of antennas, the 403A Antenna Genius and the Power Genius XL. And then below on the left, you could see I've got my remote rig. And what I'm using on that remote rig is a headset and boom mic, right? I can use a regular foot switch plugged into it. I could put my CW paddles into it. I can hear side tone when I send CW with my CW paddles. Because the remote rig on the other side is interfaced with the local audio, I can hear the N1MM generated side tone. And I can hear monitors if I'm sending, you know, SSB CQs through N1MM. I can hear them over the remote rig.
We're using the WIN key in the remote rig, not the one provided by the Flex.
Yes. Yeah, and that's kind of a digression from the remote piece, but I actually use an actual WIN keyer with the Flex as well. For the N1MM stuff that's being generated locally.
Because your logger's running at the station.
Yes, correct. And so I actually use an actual remote rig.
Or WIN keyer.
Or sorry, a WIN keyer at the station. Because the CW is a little bit, there's been some issues with some of the CW. And when we're talking competitive level, we can't have issues like that with CW. So I've bridged some of those problems. So there you have it, right? We're using remote rigs. And by the way, we have a number of stations that connect into N6RO using this very setup. The bandwidth is, you know, we've had to finagle around with messing with remote desktops and stuff like that. But we've gotten the bandwidth down where we can actually have multiple Flex remotes going at the same time, both, or two of them at least, both of them SO2R sometimes, in addition to running a couple of other remote rigs which are controlling K3s. So it's a very bandwidth efficient solution, and it solves the latency problem within a delta T that makes it acceptable to do competitive level contesting. So that's basically the competitive layout that we use at N6RO. You could take a look. That's station 6 at N6RO. You could see I have a PGXL, a 6600M. You can see my 3 monitors, which I don't get to sit down and look at anymore thanks to social distancing, and I have to do everything remote. But on the right, you could see, Bob, that I've got my, my WIN keyer there plugged in and interfaced to the server. You could also see the remote rig, and you can see the cable harnesses that I've set up to, and the reason why they're so complex is because they also support local local use as well, right? So I've got a bunch of split pigtails there to handle multiple scenarios. But so it looks a little bit more complicated than it really needs to be. It's basically plugged in to the mic, to the audio, and the PTT, and it works very, very well.
Any RFI, I see the toroid in the LAN port on the right slide.
Yeah.
Any comments with mitigation and noise?
Well, I mean, the point there is you need to solve all your problems on the server side, right? And I mentioned that in the beginning of the presentation, is that if you're gonna, any issues with RFI, things causing problems, some of this is just kind of, what do you say, prophylactic, right? And, I stick it on there just so there isn't a problem, right? Or maybe I suspected a problem and I wrapped it in this particular case. But you're going to want to work out all of those issues to make sure that you're not having problems before you basically certify your shack as remotable, right? You want to get all that stuff taken care of.
Chris, is that 1/4-inch jack with nothing in it a EN jack for CW and nothing's plugged in there, or is that something else?
I'm looking. What are you talking about?
See a silver 1/4-inch jack in the back of the FlexRadio with nothing plugged into it.
Oh, that's a balanced audio input. The big one, the 1/4-inch, that's a balanced audio input on a 6600M.
Okay, so there is a key jack being used somewhere.
Yes.
Oh, that's
yes.
right. It's a 3.5 on that radio.
Yeah, it's plugged in there. You can't quite see the tag, but it's there.
Well, it's right next to the balanced one.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the reason why I have a splitter on there is because I want to operate locally too without having to pull out a bunch of cables. And Gary actually made a really cool box to handle some of the SSB issues. So this is what it looks like. This is what I'm looking at right now as I've been presenting to you. And this is what I used to contest at N6RO and K6LRG. And K6LRG is about ready to be deployed. We're getting ready to push the Flex up there so we can have multiple stations. And so you could see that I find great importance in screen real estate. And I'm using very, very large monitors here and a TV screen and a Maestro. And I'm using them. Go ahead.
Got a 4K TV up there, and do you get a stiff neck looking at it?
It is a 4K TV, but if I bring, you can see how low I've brought the pan adapters, right? So I'm not looking up toward the top of it. But it actually works relatively well, and because I'm doing all of my control with the Maestro down on the lower right, it's interfaced simultaneously in smart control mode, so I can actually drive the VFO, quote unquote VFOs from the Maestro there, and it works relatively well, and we've done very well, and we've won some contests doing this, and.
How would you describe the push-to-talk latency?
Depends on the solution. Through the remote rig, the push-to-talk latency is almost non-existent. But through the Smart Link tool, so let's say you had a laptop and you were trying to contest from your office or something like that, because of that 200-300% overhead, which is caused by the compression algorithm that they're using, I believe, and I do hope that they will make it more efficient, and I'm working with them to try and do that. There is some noticeable latency, and so what ends up happening is you'll say, this is N6WM contest, and when you unkey, you're going to get half a call sign. Right, so that's functionally what you end up having happen, right? And so that becomes very difficult in a competitive scenario. If you're throwing out some QSOs in a QSO party or something like that, you can always ask for a fill, right, and try and time it. But in a competitive environment, it's just doesn't work, which is why we still use the remote rig to eliminate that problem. And, you know, you're never going to hear Flex say, you know, this is the solution, right? This is the real deal, right? This is us, contesters, working out problems that a vendor is maybe still working on, right? And they are working on them, but they, you know, with various levels of priorities, right? Depending on, you know, what their priorities. So does that answer your question? It depends.
Well, I would imagine when the person that you're trying to contact, by the time you transmit, there's already 3 or 4 guys ahead of you.
Yeah, that's why I say, because, you know, because to actually be competitive, to actually do rapid fire stuff, we need to use that remote rig solution, which has low enough latency where it's not an issue.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just make up for that in antenna gain.
Yeah.
And also, you do get a little used to it. You know, like I've been remoting NW6P and RO a bunch, and you start, you know, maybe jumping the gun a little more, and you just adjust internally, and you never have to worry about it again. You start winning jump balls left and right either way.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't even imagine trying to do a sprint with the SmartLink, but anyway.
SmartLink is like a separate app that runs client server on both ends of a PC.
SmartLink is basically run off of the transceiver server itself. It's registered, but all SmartLink really is a broker system on the internet that puts your server and your client together. And then when that broker system makes that connection, the system knows to apply those compression algorithms.
Yeah, so functionally, SmartLink is built into all of the Flex utilities. So
correct.
It'll do that part for you if you happen to be remote, or all the Flex utilities by default try to discover over the local LAN, and either one all of them can just do either of those, including the CAT program or the DAX program or the PAN adapter.
So there's some kind of central server, sort of the way TeamViewer works, where it kind of as a broker to connect the two. But But so if that server goes down, you're kind of dead in the water with SmartLink.
Yeah.
Yes. The whole time I've had this thing, I think it happened twice, I think, or something like that. And both those times it's been remediated very, very quickly. There are other solutions. Remember I told you about the VPN. You can always, you know, there are backups that can get you out of trouble, right?
They host it in Microsoft Azure. It's pretty reliable these days.
It's very, very reliable.
And all it has to do, it's basically an IP publishing service for 2 endpoints behind that. So it doesn't have a lot to do. And once you are connected, like for a contest weekend, it's not like it's needed continuously to keep working.
Yeah, hey, Chris. Does some kind of license check, I guess.
Yeah.
Chris.
Yes.
There was a discussion over the Flex community that they will allow the compression over the VPN link. Is this going, or?
As far as I know, well, you know, you can still make a SmartLink connection, but it's not going to be leveraging that VPN. So I think that might be a bigger deal. I can see the need for it. I can definitely see the value of it, and I agree. It would be cool. But yeah, it would need to be. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to be something that's going to be coming very soon.
The option to choose compression over VPN, yes or no? That's the point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you use, you know, I don't want to dive too deep into the VPN underpinnings, but you can actually use your own compression. You can have a Raspberry Pi running soft ether VPN, and you can compress your stream yourself, right? And we used to do that, right?
Yeah, it's way more complicated than if somebody wants to jump into your remote. That can be difficult.
Right. I agree, and I think a lot of these decisions are being made to balance complexity versus simplicity, right? There's, you know, those of us that are doing the heavy duty remoting and contesting, you know, most of us are got pretty complex systems. By the way, here's my Maestro on the screen here, and you could see both the K6LRG Station 3 available, as we're hoping that will be QRV by CQP, and the N6RO Station 6 showing up, both those systems showing up as SmartLink connected, and my local 6600M here at the lab. In the lower right, you could see that I'm logged in to the SmartLink system with my credentials, and you can use the same credentials on multiple systems. So I've got K6LRG and N6RO currently set up using that set of credentials. So both those systems show up there.
So you can run XO2Q?
Yeah, exactly. I can work myself.
When you send on paddles locally, how fast can you go, and does it really sound okay on the other end?
Well, the remote rig, we're all kind of familiar with that latency. I know that it's an issue for somebody like yourself, who's a very efficient, high speed operator.
So you know what the remote rig's actually doing, right? Is it's decoding your CW and then retransmitting it on the other side. It's not actually doing full timing reconstruction. It's doing letter reconstruction on the other side.
Yeah,
I thought that's what it did, but if you squeeze the paddles continuously and send da-da-da-da-da, which is not a letter, it still comes out the da-da-da-da-da on the other end.
You'd be surprised. So if you actually, it's doing like A or R or something, because if you try to do it really fast on the remote rig, it won't work. Like sit there and just move your finger between the paddles. It won't do it. It won't actually work.
Well, yeah, there are two ways to send CW through remote rig. You can use the keyer that's built into the remote rig box, or you can use a separate external keyer and inject the keying in the back of the remote rig box.
Correct.
Which one are you talking about?
We're talking about the actual keyer, the iambic keyer in the remote rig box. Now, yeah, that's another solution that I've also done as well, is load up a wing keyer into the remote rig box and bypass its version of it.
And how does that work?
A little better, but the problem is that it doesn't have as much of a hint on the remote side for how to handle PTT properly. So you do get little artifacts of half bits missing and stuff like that.
You can't get errors out here for K3 to K3.
Go ahead, Gary.
I was going to say I use it all the time with my bugs, my straight key, and works pretty well as long as the internet, sort of in the upload direction going to the station. If that internet is robust, if it isn't suffering from a lot of packet loss and things like that, it works just fine. I mean, you can send 50 words a minute and it'll sound okay, but again, depending on it literally is sending on/off commands. Key down, key up, but it does some buffering. It's better than just raw, unvarnished, one packet per transition. So anyway, if the internet connection is pretty good, it will sound just fine. If the internet connection sucks, well, it can make a mistake. A short dit, missing dit, long dit. Every 10 seconds, and you sound like an idiot. So you just never know.
We just kind of solved this keying problem that AA6 had with the W7RN remotes using remote rig and K3 by turning on a feature in the remote rig called WinKey generated PTT or keyer generated PTT. And that actually holds the PTT line of the radio closed while the keying's coming in and prevents a lot of chopping. So the WinKey works better. But that's kind of unique to the K3. There is a PTT input, I assume, a foot switch type input you can connect the remote rig to in the shack, right, on that flex?
Yeah. Yes, and it invokes MOX, yeah. But it might not be quite the same. I'd want to experiment with that a little bit. But the honest truth, Bob, is, I generally, when I'm contesting, I'm running at about 30 words per minute. I'm able to make, N6MJ I am not, N6TV I am not, but I'm able to make lots and lots of QSOs at N6RO using this solution. And if I get good enough where I'm super concerned about it, and that keeping in mind that there are people that don't even need a key remote. I prefer to have that control, but people like K7GK and some others have become accustomed of just using Control K and sending whatever exceptions they need via the logger.
Yeah, certainly that works. Sometimes it's quicker to grab the paddles, but
yeah.
Anyway, just take a look at that PTT setting in the microbits remote rig setup. It might help the missing DIT problem that Gary was talking about.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's a grander problem. The flex missing DIT problem is a grander problem that is known. They're working on it.
This would be using the WinKeyer in the remote rig boxes to do all the hand sending.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing to know about the WinKeyer in the remote rig boxes, it's actually not a K1EL chip. They're emulating it. And it's not quite everything that a real K1EL is.
And especially the one that's in the Smart SDR CAT is definitely not a complete command set. It's enough to get you on the air and send some CW via your logger, but it is not comprehensive. But it's a neat feature to be able to just spin up a WinKeyer on your laptop and you're on, right? So it has value, but it's not a full complete solution, which is why we do all these wrappers. There is one other thing before I sign off here, and I did want to speak a little bit about the remote desktop piece, because I know that much like loggers, a lot of people are very particular about wanting their logger right there on their PC versus remoting and having it at the station. I could see Rick shaking his head yes, because I know Rick is very big about having his logger locally. It's been my experience that it's a lot easier for me to recover from a fault if I'm using a remote desktop. So one of the things that happens in using the internet is sometimes your circuit to the station gets broken. And if that happens during a contest, if you've got a lot of different utilities, your WinKeyer, your antenna rotor control, and all these different things, all on your local desktop, how much time are you going to lose having to cycle through and make sure all of those connections are working versus just going to your remote desktop and it's there and ready to go just the way you left it? That's been my experience, and I don't expect everyone to agree with that philosophy, but that's been my real world experience. And it might be because I've been doing this for too long, right? Back in the old days, we had more problems. Back in 2010 through 2013, you know, I was doing a competitive level contest at K6LRG. We had a fault, and I was having trouble restoring my connections to all these different tools that I had. And if I had my remote desktop, it would have been available for me. It was a RIDI contest.
Where the fault occurs, Chris.
It does. But the thing is are you prepared? You know, my mindset on this is we're in a competition here. And if we're competitive level, we're in a competition to win it. And if we have a 10-minute internet outage and then another 10 minutes of restoration after you restore your internet connection, you've lost 20 minutes instead of 10 minutes. And so that's my philosophy on that. It's my philosophy. I don't expect everyone to agree with that philosophy. It's just been my experience. So in the case of N6RO, we've got so many customized control interfaces that are doing things like controlling 160 meter arrays and beverages and stuff like that, and our localized control and stuff like that. It would take a while to restore all that stuff if it was all being pumped through a VPN and being recreated locally. Dave does it sometimes.
Just be sure do not turn on automatic repeating CQ if you think your internet connection is going to go on.
Yeah, I got stories. But anyway, so I know that you could see that I've had to, even with the severely pared down content, that we could talk for hours and hours and hours about all of this. And so if anybody has questions, or if you've got a FlexRadio that you're trying to get on the internet, please feel free to email me. I can ask questions. I'm on the Flex Alpha team, so I can ask their programmers questions, like Stefan, when are they going to implement certain, compression algorithms for certain environments and stuff like that. I have their ear.
What are they saying about side tone?
They're working on it. We actually, the project was delayed. The project to remediate it was delayed, but they're working on it now actively again.
So I assume the remote radio is producing side tone out its audio output, or is that all muted when you're transmitting?
Well, one of the problems, A9CT has spoken, and they're working on it.
K9CT.
A9, because of the missing.
Oh. Oh, got it.
So yeah, so like I said, it's got their attention. There's been a comprehensive a scope document, and they're hitting it. It's hard because the programmers are not CWA operators.
Yeah, and I heard Flex was focused on military support rather than amateur support these days.
No, they're supporting everything very quickly. They just went through a transition like many companies do, and they went through a growth period where they landed a big contract, and that that caused some issues. And then COVID came, and they have they've had supply chain issues because of COVID. The factory that assembles got a COVID outbreak and slowed that down. So there's all kinds of problems that happen in business, but it all works very well. I'm sure that other amateur radio manufacturers are having supply chain problems because of COVID. All of them.
Where are they assembled? China?
No, here in Texas.
Okay.
In Texas, they outsourced it for a while, but now they're pulling it back because of COVID.
Texas.
So, what'd you say, Rick?
I said there's COVID problems in Texas.
Yeah. This is true, but I've talked to them, and they don't have any problems in house. And
well, before you go, could you talk a little bit about the reliability of your PGXL? How many times have you had to send it back to get fixed?
That's not a fair question because I alpha tested it. It's the same as probably you guys did with the KPA 1500s in the beginning. They had to do a lot of work on filters in the very beginning. Mine never actually, I never burned mine, and I hit it pretty hard, but it did have some relay sticky problems and stuff like that, but they resolved it, and they worked really hard to make it a robust amplifier.
Is it a QSK amplifier? It
is not. One of my, if there is one thing that I do not understand why 403A didn't do is to make it a QSK capable amp. I don't understand why he did not do that. I would expect him to understand that, but he didn't. And I don't know if there's another product that they're going to come out with down the road that's going to be an enhancement for it, or I don't know what the roadmap is for it. But I can tell you that the amp has become exponentially robust.
It's probably because they're trying to do SO2R, and that's hard with QSK.
I'm assuming that has something to do with it, but
yeah. The pin diodes are expensive. The number one, they're really hard to get right without a bunch of secondary effects like the other circuit oscillating the first one. I mean, it's bad.
But I will say that it is very slick to have the amp fully integrated with the transceiver interface and being able to work with it and see the power output on Smart SDR and everything like that, like it's a 1500 watt.
Does it have BCD? Sorry. Does it have BCD inputs and other things for non-flex radios?
Yep, comprehensive, yeah. CIV, BCD, all that stuff, yeah.
Chris. Hey, I'm gonna jump in here. We better do this raffle before.
Okay. Let's take one more question. Who said Chris?
Chris, the Flex and QSK, the Flex Radio and QSK, it's another problem. The turnover is about 200 milliseconds.
It's in the scoping document. There's a full CW remediation underway.
Okay. Pin diodes above 1 kW, as I have, did some stuff on this. It's pretty tough. Kudos to Bob, KN1XX, to make the K1500 work.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Dave, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Let's see. I guess, Bill, can you share my screen now?
Yeah, you need.
And Bob, if there's more questions that you want to, ask, as you're working with your products and stuff like that, I'm happy to. Obviously, we've talked before, and you can talk with me anytime. So, and if I don't know it, I'll find the answer.
Thank you.
Okay, so it says. You gotta let me.
I fixed it. Now.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see.
Hey, Dave, for the shirts, tell the winners to specify their shirt size, and I'll have them drop shipped.
Okay, let's see if this works. Can you see the wheel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. All right, so we got 3 hats, 3 shirts, and then the coupon, which is a different set of people. So here's the complete list of people that were here, and let's just get this going here. Okay, click to spin. I'm not sharing my audio. I guess I should have done that, but you'll see the winners. So this is a hat.
That's pretty cool.
Okay.
Ow.
All right, 1 hat, WE6Z. Here we go again. We'll do all the hats and then we'll do all the shirts.
Hey, David, did you put my call up there?
Uh-oh, who's missing?
SRZ?
Yeah, you're there.
Oh, I am? Okay.
Yeah, it scrolls.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
We don't got Hamfests anymore, so we got to get our hats somewhere.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Well,
now hold on. Now hold on.
Oh, Bob gets one. AD60 has got to feel screwed at this point.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, this time I'll remove the duplicates. Let me make sure that Alan's here. I think he's here.
Yeah, he's there. He just 2 clicks away twice.
All right. Okay, hat number 3. Here we go.
Wait.
Now, Bob, if you win, you have to wear this.
My head's too big. Ooh.
Yeah.
No. Just.
Gary!
I think the fix is in.
Okay. Now we got next the shirts. Shirt number 1.
I think this came from an internet gambling site.
$500 added from the NCCC bank account.
Wheelofnames.com. Pretty cute. Looks like KATR is getting it this time. Yes. No.
All right.
Yes.
Up.
This is the most entertainment you've had all week.
Yes, it is. How many hats do you have to give away?
You got that was a shirt. We got 2 more shirts.
Okay.
How come they're always on one side of the wheel?
Because the air is on the right side of the wheel. The wheel goes around and round, see?
It's rigged.
Let's all sing now.
All the calls are on the same area, though.
Mm-hmm.
We better shuffle it then.
Oh, no. SRZ. Oh. What if the shirt doesn't fit?
It will, because you guys are going to need to send in your shirt sizes. And
all right, I'm going to shuffle this thing. There's some complaints from the peanut gallery. All right. What's the third shirt?
Is this how the election's going to be decided?
Yes.
Yeah, but you can't take this wheel to the Supreme Court.
Well, that's how Supreme Court justices are picked.
That's how they do it anyway.
That's how they rule. Just kidding.
Oh, Ted's got it.
Okay, so that's it. Now, so far, this is your last chance to get into this other raffle.
Uh-oh.
Anybody, any last minute requests? I'll show you how many we have right now.
Yeah, how about the Everly Brothers?
It actually will play different kinds of music if there's some preference somewhere, but I'm not going to bother with it. This is what we got. Any more?
That's it?
Wait a second. IOB. You want to be on this thing?
I think N6WM deserves to be on this.
Okay. Do you want to be on it, Chris?
What is it for? Next president?
Oh, sorry. This is a certificate for a discount on a FlexRadio. $100 off the 6400, $200 off the 6600, or $300 off the 6700.
Is it transferable?
No.
This evolution would be suggested that it would not be transferable.
Aha.
Right.
So in other words, you're obligated to buy.
Well, or not.
Yeah, whenever it's convenient for you, right?
Okay, last chance. Anybody else want to do this?
Win the privilege of paying thousands of dollars.
Right. Oh, is this it? 2? All right. There's got to be some.
No, you can't do it that way.
Something to make it more exciting.
Who owns a Flex already? You should put all their names in. Maybe they can get a discount on a Maestro or something.
No, you can't get a discount on a Maestro. Otherwise, I would have put my name in. All right, I'm doing it. Here we go. Whoops, that didn't happen. That was
blank wins.
UFO wins. No.
I'm going to spin it a couple of times. Well, it doesn't. No,
a couple of times. What do you mean?
I like clicking it.
Yeah, give it a big spin there, man.
Persistent spinning.
Oh, I think Jim's gonna have it.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Jim. Sorry, Mark. Look at that smile.
Now I have to break out my checkbook.
Yeah.
Big winner.
Expensive
win. We should raffle off all the old K3s.
Okay, that's the end of it.
All right, who wants to raffle off one of their K4s? Just kidding.
No thanks, I'm keeping.
Well, thanks, Chris. That was great.
No problem.
Yeah.
That's fun. Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, great presentation.
Thanks.
Yeah,
There's
very
a
nice.
lot of information there and probably a lot of questions. So feel free to email me.
And nice slides. Maybe you could.
Be sure to give Jim your home phone number. He's gonna need it.
Well, we have to put the slides up on the website if you're okay with that.
Yeah, no problem. Whatever. So.
Yeah, we now have a volunteer to edit the video and stuff now. So after Bill finishes recording, he can send it off to our editing crew, and hopefully we'll get these things up on YouTube relatively soon. So anybody who missed this meeting will be able to watch it and zoom through it and watch the juicy parts over again.
Who's doing the editing? They deserve some kudos.
And what application are they using? I have some Redx Zoom meetings I like to edit.
Yeah. So it's Scott, AF6RT, and his son. He has a teenage son who's got some experience in video and wants to do more of it. And I said, well, that's a perfect combination. So they stepped up. That's really, really good of them to do that.
Yeah, and they're using Premiere and I think Final Cut a little bit too, and maybe some iMovie.
All right.
That's nice.
By the way, my background here, you can see the background.
Your video's not running.
Oh, is my video not running? Hold on. Here, how's that? There's my background. That's Henderson Island. I took that picture for Bob Cox when I was on my way to Ducey Island. We passed within breathing distance of Henderson Island. It's a World Heritage Island in between Pitcairn and Ducey in the South Pacific, and it is one of the most sought after IOTAs and is not activated very often. So I just thought I'd share that little factoid with you all.
Looks like an easy landing.
Yeah, you know, it's got a nice beach there. You know, you could set up and make a lot of QSOs. I guess that thus ends the real program, and now it's social hour again. You guys can start drinking again.
Well, before the meeting, I heard some talk about having trouble with the ACOM interface and getting that, what was the error? Incompatibility.
Microprocessor conflict.
Yeah, we saw the same thing at W7RN when we tried to use the, what is it, M0WM or something software.
Yeah.
And when, you know, he built the cable to his specifications, or at least Tom claimed he did. It would never work, and there were lots of complaints all over the internet that his software just doesn't work anymore, or maybe it had to do with vintages of the new ACOM RCU, and some work and some don't. So the solution was Remote Rig makes an interface for ACOM 2000, and it works perfectly for multiple people.
Yeah, I've looked at it. It's $300. It may be worth using one of those.
Any tips on fault clearance? In other words, getting the fault to clear?
I assume that interface has that button.
No. The problem is that we've actually unplugged everything from the amplifier, at least allegedly, and it's still happening when it boots up.
Well, does not work locally or remotely. Cannot boot.
It gets like I don't know what, like 8 or 12 seconds into the warm-up cycle, and then it throws the microprocessor fault.
Really, that usually only happens if there's something in the serial connector and not the remote. You assume you have the new ACOM RCU?
Yeah.
With the color screen?
Yep.
And that, I would make sure, you know, when you power it off, the amp is kind of in standby. It's still got power. So I would just really unplug the amplifier.
We did that
a couple dozen times.
Well, it's possible that the control circuit in the amp got fried with a cable problem or something. You're going to have to write to Val at ACOM and say, how do we clear this?
No.
Bummer.
Yeah, I've got a couple feelers out to some of their techs and engaging the network.
Since we're using ACOMs at RN, I would like to know what you find as a solution.
Yeah. Okay.
But I've heard real good things about remote rigs to ACOMs. Not their RC1216, but some other thing they have. I think that was just for remote power on, which is a little tricky with ACOMs. But Ken's there all the time, so he can be a remote power on button.
Right.
I was going to say, you know, if you've got a remote station, if you've got a Kens are really amazing devices. They can actually, they could actually, you know, like tune an Alpha 76 and.
Hi, Jake.
And just amazing the things turn stuff on and off. Kens are great devices.
Actually, the Ameritron 1200 is a backup for the ACOM, and it's very quick tuning when we change bands.
And instant on.
Yeah. We got 2 of them here, and they're the best surviving machines we have.
And they're built like a tank. And they also sound like one.
And they also are as heavy as one too.
Heavy as one.
Ameritron 1200. I did a couple weeks ago for Bob W1RH, one small Arduino to recover after fault on a Meritron 1200. It does like this. If you key up and it faults, you need to key down for 3 seconds and it will recover.
The PTT input of the AL1200, 3 seconds?
Yeah, just to key off, yeah, for 3 seconds.
How much current does AL1200 draw when on its PTT input when it's shorted to ground?
I think it's 12 volt, and I use the solid state optocoupler.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if a transistor, an NPN, would do the same job.
100 mil.
Yeah,
How many?
It will do the job.
100 mils.
I think it's less than about 10, couple milliamps, less than 10.
Okay, so my serial box could hold down an RTS pin and could key that too. Interesting. But you need a PC remotely to trigger the RTS pin to do it. But that's possible. Okay. Any other news to share, anybody?
Bob, why don't you do some sleigh ride for us?
You know, Zoom, we've discovered, has a fart filter. So as soon as you
that's awesome.
As soon as you try sending, nothing comes out.
That must be why the shofar didn't work in our Rosh Hashanah services.
If it sounds like noise, it gets filtered out. Thank you, Zoom.
Oh,
Hey, can I make a plea for CQP from out of state? Listen for the weak ones on the high bands on backscatter.
Yeah, which way should we point? We need Nevada.
Just point east.
Not north or, okay.
No, backscatter.
I see. So we all point east. You point east.
Not skew.
Everybody point to the Pacific.
Mine would be pointing south, so.
Then you won't get Nevada.
Why are you pointing south, Bill?
Because I'm up here in Oregon.
Oh, how's the smoke?
Much better. Our particulate count thingy was over 500 a few days ago, and that's about at 10 or so today.
Yeah, we're at 3 and 6 here. I put one at my house because of this, and I had it in my closet for a year and a half. I finally installed it. And this is the first week where I've seen it be a reasonable number in green.
Yeah, we couldn't even, it was like fog here. You couldn't even see a quarter mile or less. You know, it was really tough to breathe outside.
Stay inside,
We had a fire about 3 to 5 miles from us.
That's
but it
too
was
close.
going the other way, fortunately.
What part of Oregon are you in?
Just below Portland, between Sherwood and Newburgh, little burgs over here. We're about, 20 miles or so south, something like that, of Portland.
Can you give us an update on the...
I'm set up on a hill here, 900 feet.
That sounds cool. Can you give us an update on the containment of those fires?
No.
I mean...
All I know is the one that was close to me is contained, and they're letting people back in, but that was about 800 and some acres.
Whoa. Well, I'm glad you're okay. Was there any hams up there who, like K6XX, lost their
Haven't heard of anybody yet. I'll have a meeting, Thursday night with our local club here, the Willamette Valley DX Club, and we'll probably discuss some of that then.
Very good. Hey, Ken, is that next to you? Is that a smart cat, a smart SDR cat?
Yeah, that's Phoebe, my constant companion.
Let's see her.
Cat
Say
control.
something. Say something, Phoebe.
Let's hear the cat interface.
Something Phoebe.
There. Say something, Phoebe. Talk.
Phoebe's looking at like you talking to me.
Bob, is that your Purple Air machine reporting 5 parts per million?
Mine is reporting right now 6.
6. Oh, okay. The 5 is right next to you.
Well, it's nice to have finally a nice clear day.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, breathing is good.
thanks to COVID, we had so little traffic. The air was blue sky until all the fires started.
Yeah.
Right,
we
it
didn't see
looked like
the pier
Los Angeles in
for a week here.
1974 out there.
Yeah, I
for a
was
while.
there. I was there.
Yeah.
It's 1 year in Davis, purple air.
What do you have there, Giuseppe?
1.
You got a one at your house?
No, it's not my house. It's close by. It's one of the sensors close by.
Well, if you got your fireplace going, it's probably more than one.
Yeah, of course, but that is it's not a sensor here at my house, but it's very close. It's a school here, very close by. I never seen it at 1. Normally, it's around 250.
You guys remember Bob
very
Fabry, N6EK? He was the one who started me with this PM sensor a year and a half ago. He did a group buy and got a bunch of guys going. He's doing fine, but he's not into radio anymore. N6EK. I think he turned 80.
Wow. Well, good to see you guys. I got to go. Great meeting.
Thanks.
Good to see you guys. Thank you
I'll
so
go
much.
too.
Yeah, see you later.
See you.